I put a lot of time into the military law side of things,
Yeah.
and I can certainly say that whether it's true or not, but we certainly have the conditions under the updated law of war manual that a global martial law, soft martial law, should be in place right now. Hey guys, Gavin here from Sovereign Empowerment, and I wanted to shoot a very quick introductory video to the second part of Damien's Magna Carta series. So obviously another Damien, another great Damien, and another Damien that knows an awful lot about his subject matter, and that being the Constitution and the Magna Carta. Now when I first met Damien, you know, we had a lot of conversations about this stuff, and it really threw me through a loop, or a hoop I should say, because it was directly contradicting a lot of the things that I'd now established as the truth in my own mind. And so one of the things that I learned about this journey of awakening is that you never know it all. You don't, you know, you're never going to know it all. And I was one of those that I believe now fell for the intentional misdirection that surrounds the Magna Carta. I believe there's a lot of different psyops, there's multi-layered psyops going on right now in the truth movement, and really the only way to get to the truth is to use our own discernment, put our own time in to find these facts for ourselves and know this stuff for yourself. Now I was one, I think, of many that are out there now, and certainly judging by the comments I can see that this is happening to other people, that when you get something like this coming out saying, hey, the Bill of Rights was an act of treason, I mean, that's a pretty big statement to make, right? So what I wanted to just say is, like, don't get triggered by the statement. Start looking into the facts. There may be some things that you didn't know that run contrary to what you currently know, because the truth is the truth. And I think that this moment of awakening for us, the journey that we're on, is about finding the truth of things. And so I'm not going to say any more than that. I'm simply saying that there's a message here. Everything is factually correct. It's for you guys to pick that up and do your own homework to find out whether what Damien is suggesting here is the truth or not. For me personally, I think that it's about time that we started having a conversation about a constitution. We know, as an example, Parliament is not sovereign. Now, where I personally sit with all of this stuff, if we were to take a step back, you know, look at this like from a 40,000 view, this system has been subverted. We know that. This system has become tyrannous. We know that. These courts are corrupt. We know that. We've all had a lot of our own personal experiences with that. And I have a real big issue with regards to using the very system that is corrupted and tyrannous against them. Like, we're using the same mechanism that's been subverted. And it grates me. But the other side of that is that we have these tools, and the Bill of Rights is one of those tools. It enables us to sue these people in their personal capacity. But if I'm being honest with you, I'd be more than happy to see the whole lot come crashing down. We know that the administrational courts are completely unlawful. All of this stuff needs to end. And the way that that ends is bringing back trial by jury. That's the one major thing they took out of that constitution. It used to be in the Bill of Rights. They repealed it. If you really dig into the history of this stuff, and I'm going to oversimplify it, who gave anybody the authority to take what was a sealed treaty and turn that into statute, and then over the preceding years, and I'm talking hundreds of years, repeal everything that gave the people the rights to do these things? So this situation that we're in right now in the world would not happen if we had trial by jury, because we could repeal everything that went against the people. We could repeal everything that was unlawful. The council tax, the Local Government Finance Act, we could repeal that ourselves. We don't have that power. That has been removed, and that was in the Magna Carta. Now, the other thing I'm just going to say is that we're able to sue people using the Bill of Rights and the associated statutes, because what they have done very successfully over a long period of time is merge the common law into statute. And so whilst we can do that, the problem I have with that is that why are we saying that's okay? Why are we thinking that, well, they've just merged the common law into statute, so you just got to find it and unpick it? For me, a genuinely upfront, honest, transparent system doesn't make it so damn hard for us to do what we need to do to stand on our rights and get our remedies. Everything is stacked against us. That's the problem I have with this system. That's the problem I have with even suing people using the Bill of Rights right now. I love it. I dig into it. I know we can do it. I know I can do it. Damien's obviously doing it. He's doing some great videos. But the fundamental fact for me remains that there was an act of treason that went back before that. And I don't see the logic longer term in standing on this stuff when it's been subverted to such an extent. And with that said, here's the video.
So we've touched on this, so I'll briefly read this. The pretended power of suspending of laws or the execution of laws by regal authority without consent of Parliament is illegal. The Bill of Rights 1689 forbids the King, Queen to transfer sovereignty to a foreign state, but the dispensing and executing of laws is illegal. So it's a contradiction to me. It just doesn't make sense. To reference this bill as constitutional, yet deny the head of state authority to suspend statute law is a contradiction, given what the European Communities Act of 1972 did. It's just anything that within the Bill of Rights, just, it doesn't make sense to me. Like the previous slide about not giving jurisdiction of anything to foreign rule basically is forbidden. Yet say that the head of state can't dispense law or say, look, I'm not giving assent to that, it's unconstitutional, is a contradiction, isn't it? But without the say-so of Parliament. So basically Parliament, the Queen can't do anything regards to law, to statute law, yet Parliament can do whatever it wants. Because royal assent is a formality, as we've already heard.
It's a joke, really, isn't it? The whole thing's a joke.
The holes in that, if you can't see the logic in that, there's something wrong. If you can't see what's wrong with that and the contradictions in the hush, don't mention it, maybe they won't notice. That's what it seems like to me now. It's like a big, massive elephant in the room.
Yeah.
He's asking me not to look at it. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's crazy. So that all grants and promises and fines and forfeitures of particular persons before conviction are illegal and void. Yeah, that's great. We like that. But where's trial by jury? Because promises of fines and forfeit, that wouldn't happen anyway under trial by jury.
None of these administrative courts would exist under trial by jury because they're all unlawful. Yeah,
exactly. So again, I'm hoping that, I know we've had these conversations a few times now, but I'm hoping your audience is starting to not believe what I'm saying, but just like second guessing themselves and thinking, wow, maybe I need to look at that. And I hope that's what it triggers, because I want people to just look at it themselves and not rely on, because that's what I did. I watched a couple of videos and people were like, yeah, read that or look at that. And that's exactly what it did. But then certain books took me to other books, which took me to other books, which took me to other books. And that's where I'm at now. But as I've said, I hope people, it triggers something for them, especially with the Bill of Rights as it is now, because that's what everybody's using. And again, I'm not saying people choose to do what they choose to do, and that's fine. I'm not suggesting don't use it. I'm just saying maybe it's not what you think it is.
Yeah, agree.
Again, we're talking about freedom of speech and debates and proceedings, parliamentary privilege and immunity. So again, they've covered themselves, even if they do something illegal.
It's just crazy, isn't it? When you look at it,
immunities. It's like we're playing Monopoly.
Yeah.
And these people within our establishments have got all the get out of jail free cards.
It's exactly it. They've sewn this thing up so well.
If we don't comply with one tiny thing, then we're going to jail, because we don't hold any of them cards. We just have to do whatever's being said.
And these are the people that are meant to be elected by us to represent the will of the people.
It's crazy.
Tell me how this makes any sense.
It doesn't, but this is what we do. Yeah, every 4 or 5 years, this is exactly what we do. We forget that these people just act like crooks when they're in office. And then when we get a change of political party based on a bullshit manifesto that they probably don't even abide by, they might put everything in writing. And
they never do that. Have you ever known a manifesto to be rolled out like the one? It never happens, does it?
Not really. Not really.
Ridiculous. It's the way I look at it. It's like We've had this situation which a lot of us are now waking up to, but there's still a lot that aren't, where we've just been led around like children following the Pied Piper in this little
Yeah.
merry dance, keeping us trapped in our little worlds, and we do our little votes, and we hope things are going to change, and nothing changes, and then we moan about it. Do you know what I mean? It's rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. A decade goes by. It's the same old shit.
I think that's part of the job that they've done on us, the mind control aspect of it, because I think we're just taught, we're conditioned to accept the status quo and not ask any questions.
Exactly.
Whereas now that's starting to change. I think more and more people are asking questions.
Oh, yeah.
Hang on a minute. What about this?
And they don't like it.
No, they don't like it. And this is why we're getting stonewalled in courts, because they don't like it. They don't like the fact that you've gone into court and you might have said, look, you might say Article 61's been invoked. You might go on about the Bill of Rights. You might talk about something completely different, but you don't want to hear it. Anything that goes against what they're trying to do, or do you know what it is, Gav? It's basically people order following. And that's the problem.
Yeah.
That is the problem. People are like, I'm just doing my job. I'm just following orders. I'm just doing what I'm meant to be doing. And this isn't, the ability to question is gone, because people just get into a role and they're like, that's what I'm meant to do. Yeah, but is it right? Is it just? Is it fair that you're screwing people? Do you know what I mean? That's where eventually, maybe a little bit, when I feel a bit more confident with natural law, and I'll start talking about that, because that's what it is. All the following goes against natural law, because you should know. Your gut instinct should tell you what's right and what's wrong, because we're all born with it. It's just that people choose not to do it, or we've got so many psychopaths who don't have that or don't feel that.
I think that's the fair. You've either got that, genuinely, you've got psychopathic people in these different positions of power, or you've just got that. And I just think it's a huge lack of courage. People just know it's wrong, but they haven't got the courage or the balls to stand up and do something.
It's like police officers.
Yeah.
Aiding and abetting bailiffs.
Absolutely.
Or people trying to break into your home. Now, it doesn't, again, to me, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to suggest that's completely wrong. I couldn't, in good faith, go, what am I doing today? Actually, assisting bailiffs to break into this elderly person's home to change the meter. Like, I know myself, I could never do that job in a million years.
Agreed.
Because my sense of right and wrong and my moral compass is centered.
Completely agreed. Yeah, I completely agree with you.
Again, it comes from the whole, like, do you have morals? Do you not? Do you know what's right? Do you know what's wrong? Are you order following? Are you happy to do these things because you feel like, because it's your job, that it's okay to do it? It just isn't, is it? And not only that, to be paid for it, to be paid to pull them kind of stunts on people. It's like the police should be on our side.
But they never are. And we know that because we've all had our interactions with those folks, haven't we?
It's just a sad state of affairs, isn't it, at the moment?
Yeah.
We're slowly turning that tide, mate. So this was a big one for me. When I first read this, I was like, wow, this is it. This is gonna blow everything out of the water. They do claim, demand, and insist upon all and singular premises as their undoubted rights and liberties, and that no declarations, judgments, doings, or proceedings to the prejudice of the people in any of the said premises ought in any wise be drawn hereafter into consequence or example. So when I read that, I was like, that says it all. Anything that prejudices me or breaches my rights and liberties, I'm just going to pull this out. Nobody can do anything. I'm untouchable is what I thought when I read that. But again, it doesn't really hold up a lot of the time. So I put in brackets on this one. It stands to reason that after assertion of their own powers, they wouldn't want anything drawn up later that would question this act. So get people to accept the whole bill, make it read well in places so people do accept it and they're encouraged to accept. Call it a constitutional statute, which is a complete impossibility in itself. You've got a constitution and you've got statutes. Two separate things. Parliaments legitimately can write, amend, repeal statute law. What they can't do is write a constitution, let alone write themselves into constitutional law. So again, the implied repeal can't be touched and all that. I don't believe that for 1 minute, because as you're going to see, there's been amendments made to the Bill of Rights. I don't know what's going on now, and I don't know with Charlie Boy's coronation and what's been said and what's been done since, but there is stuff been removed from the Bill of Rights. So again, people, if they accept the whole bill, then you'd accept that parliaments and governments have power over you, over the people that created it. It's a fiction. Governments, parliaments, all fiction. So there's Edward Heath regarding, I don't know whether he's signing the accession to the Treaty of Rome there or the 1972 Communities Act or whatever. But the two main things regarding this, and again, this is a video on its own. So I'm going to make 2 points and people can look at this first document, the Kilmuir letter, which advised Edward Heath on his concerns regarding potential loss of sovereignty that posed by joining the then EC. It was under a trading agreement. I think that was more of the perception of joining the common market. So you could trade and that kind of stuff. But the bigger picture and the bigger agenda was to full membership of the EU type thing. So Edward Heath knew, he was advised in that letter what joining the EU would do. So the other documents is the 30/1048, and it was named Shoehorned into the EU. Now this document, again, they were discussing how to keep it from the people, the true agenda of what was going on. But again, I don't know how many pages it is. It's quite a long read, but it's got loads. You got to do it. How many pages is it? It's a lot of pages. But again, I'm not saying read all of it, but there's stuff in there that it'll probably shock you, to be honest. So that document was basically buried for 30 years, and probably for good reason for the establishment. But it's been released now after, is it a 30-year? Is that the given length?
I think that's correct. Yeah. Cause I think it was around 2002 that it was released.
So what did he treat that as? Is it like a variation of something being classified or something? Or
I actually don't know. I just know it was classified.
Yeah,
because actually, if you go through it, there's even questions in it where they're asking legal beagles, for want of a better word, to confirm where the loss of sovereignty happens. So is there a loss of sovereignty? And there's people raising questions about that loss of sovereignty. There's a lot to it. I've read a lot of it. It's black and white and photocopied and that, but it's all in there. And if that had been out publicly at the time, there would have been uproar.
Yeah, definitely.
So that there's no surprise why they buried it. It is what it is. By the way, you can't take that document into court, guys, and think you're going to get a judge rule in your favour having evidence treason. I've tried it.
So just briefly on that, Gavin, how did that go? How did they dismiss that evidence? Dismissed it?
Yeah, I mean, there was a combination of things. There was obviously I would suggest that there was my inexperience at that level of court and that type of hearing. There is that. But then when you go against the system to that extent, that was naive at the time, but I think knowing what I know now, we're just showing you here, when you've got a completely subverted system, there is no way any judge is going to rubber stamp something like that, because the likelihood is they'd be bloody dead by the morning.
Yeah.
And the way that whole thing now in hindsight was set up, they absolutely set it up for what happened.
Yeah.
They even brought out a semi-retired judge for it as well.
Really?
Yeah, the whole thing was just a complete setup. So but they just weren't interested in any of the arguments. So I had that, I had the Bill of Rights, I had the constitutional stuff going on. Just not interested. None of it mattered.
Interesting.
Incidentally, just miraculously, but the transcript for the hearing also wasn't available. The recording equipment malfunctioned.
Really?
Yeah, it's funny that, isn't it?
Oh, that says it all, doesn't it, really?
Exactly.
I don't think they want you talking about that kind of stuff.
Exactly, mate. Exactly.
Okay, so yeah, 2 documents, definitely take a look at them. Again, this is educational purposes. I found this on a seminar. There was a slide off a seminar, and other than the fact that it says statute law is the supreme source of constitutional law in the UK because Parliament is sovereign, that's the first thing I fixated on. But if you look at the very bottom, that's what did it for me. So the European Communities Act 1972 incorporated the Treaty of Rome 1958 into UK law. So whatever went with that, jurisdiction of courts, laws and all that stuff, that's what it was. That's what has done the initial damage to whatever it is, whatever rule of law. I don't even understand it, Gavin, to be honest. If we left the EU,
No, absolutely not.
because
There's been no change. Absolutely nothing changed.
we had that conversation not so long ago, and I was looking at certain laws and statutes and stuff like that, and it was still going on about Europe. So it was like, okay, so on the surface, we're masquerading, but really underlying with laws and jurisdiction of courts and all that stuff was still in the same boat. So nothing's really changed.
Exactly. And we can see that's happening now. They're desperately trying to get us back into it. So I think the first thing to go back in will be the economic aspects of it.
Do you know why, Gavin? Because that's the agenda.
Yeah.
Globalization is the end game.
Yeah.
To me, because then the destruction of all sovereign countries has been achieved.
Yeah.
You're easier to control, aren't you? As far as I'm concerned, the thought of a country under a constitution is not what they want, where people have a say and all that. That's what probably terrifies them. So I suppose like the EU and all that, that's why it's been established for the end game, for
I agree.
globalization. So our good man, Tony Blair. So this was about the Nice Treaty. So again, for anybody who's not really aware of what went on around 2000, basically the Treaty of Nice, when that got out, people weren't happy with certain stuff in it. And the barons petitioned the Queen to voice their concerns on that treaty. So Sir Robin Jamrin, Queen's private secretary, replied on behalf of the Queen. Now, that letter's available as well. I don't know, I haven't got a source for it, but I know if you just go online and type that in, I'm sure you can get a transcript of that. But she didn't intervene. She acknowledged certain concerns that were tabled, but nothing happened. And eventually that treaty was signed, which led to that. So for everybody out there, Article 61 of the Magna Carta has been invoked, and it was invoked in 2001. And it happened. It's not a figment of imagination. I know people like, oh, it doesn't mean anything or whatever it is they think, because nobody really talks about this. And not only that, it was reported and it was in the Daily Telegraph. Peers petitioned the Queen on Europe. So that happened. I think where they went wrong is when they petitioned the Queen, they should have had some sort of sit down, some sort of conversation in person. I think that's part of it. But that didn't happen for whatever reason. So it was reported in the Daily Telegraph, here's petition the Queen on Europe, that article. So this news was reported and made the Telegraph, here's petition Queen on Europe. Why did it make a national newspaper if it didn't mean anything? Why did the Queen's personal secretary reply on behalf of the Queen or put onto paper what the Queen said? If it didn't, what I'm saying is, if none of this held any weight, then why did these events happen? Why was it ignored? Why aren't people rubbishing it and laughing at it and going, oh, you're a joke, it doesn't exist or it doesn't mean anything? It must have meant something. I think it happened and went under the radar that quick. That again, it's another instance of something being airbrushed out of history.
Yeah, bury it, misdirect, and moves on.
Exactly. But because nothing's happened, people's idea of it is that it didn't mean anything or it didn't hold any weight. Just like when we read the Bill of Rights and the provisions, yet we still joined Europe. It's that kind of stuff. Again, it's just another instance where our governments have just basically ignored.
Yeah.
Something that is deemed constitutional, if you want to call it that. Magna Carta is the Constitution. But even when we were looking at the Bill of Rights, which everybody at that time was looking at, because of how it read, because of the stuff that it said, why would you not use that? Why would you not think that would hold weight? But these things happened, went under the radar. Again, the agenda wasn't like derailed. It carried on. We joined the EU and all that kind of stuff.
And here we are.
here we are. So this is Stalin.
No,
And
nice guy.
I put this quote in because it's exactly, as far as I'm concerned, what's happened. So divide the world into regional groups as a transitional stage to world government. Populations will more readily abandon their national loyalty to a vague regional loyalty than they will for a world authority. Later, the regions can be brought together all the way into a single world dictatorship. So was joining the EU the first stage, regional groups heading towards a world dictatorship of globalization? It looks like that to me. It looks like that to me, definitely.
Kind of like, we're at this point now, I think. The evidence is the evidence, and it's an irrefutable point. You can't, anyone claiming otherwise now, anyone's passionately fighting against those facts, to me, there's something else going on there. They're either mentally unstable, or there's maybe a different agenda that they might have to push people away from those truths.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's ignorance is bliss, isn't it? I think we go back to people who want to be ruled, people who are comfortable in this situation, who are happily going along with the status quo. I think they're the people who are, other than paid shills and trolls that are all over the internet trying to discredit people like yourself, putting truth and facts out there, and everybody that's associated with this freedom movement. I just think that not just me, loads of other people have been discussing this for years. I just think it's gathering a little bit of momentum now. And that's why it's coming out more, why William Keith is getting the exposure he's getting. Do you know William Keith was on Iconic? Do you know what Iconic is?
No, I'm not aware, mate.
Iconic is basically David Icke, Gareth Icke.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
His sons, that's their media outlet. And when I seen it, it was dead shut. I don't know whether he's doing a video or it was an introduction or what, because it just came up on some sort of feed, something I was looking at. I think it was YouTube. And I thought, wow, because there was one thing when I used to listen to David Icke, and he'd be amazing at explaining what's going on, and he'd unravel stuff. Like during the COVID thing, David Icke was just a savior for me, because at the beginning, I was generally scared. I was looking at China, Wuhan, and people were collapsing in the streets, and there was videos circulating, and I was like, wow, what's coming? Do you know what I mean? And I know I didn't say it on the intro, but I revisited David Icke after that, because he basically saved me at that point, because I was being clouded. My judgment was being clouded by fear, because I wasn't rationalizing anything. I was just like, this is all true. That's what I told myself. Do you know what I mean? This is it. Some sort of crazy virus. But David Icke, watching him and listening to him, do you watch David Icke, Gavin? Have you listened to any of his stuff?
Yeah, little bits here and there. I used to be a long time ago, but then I've just moved on. I haven't really gone back to it.
When I first started listening to David Icke, I was like, it was almost like he'd been given all this information and he just knew how to coherently explain that. Dead simply, he'd just flow. It would just be like constant. And I was like, how does he do that? All this information, he just puts it across there and he doesn't even take a breath. It's almost like it's ingrained in his head. Amazing stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, I'm just getting sidetracked there.
No, you're good, man. Keep going.
So yeah, we were talking about amendments to the Bill of Rights. Now, this is going to blow people's minds, this. So the Bill of Rights acknowledges the permanence and supremacy of the 1215 Great Charter. It is a primary fact which must be drawn to people's attention that the 1689 Bill of Rights acknowledges the supremacy and permanent constitutionality of the 1215 Great Charter. This acknowledgement comprises a self-extinguishing fatal flaw in the Bill of Rights, which emphasizes to all who subscribe to it that the bill has no authority in law over the Great Charter. So if anyone's going, bring back Carter doesn't mean anything in it, the Bill of Rights and blah, 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 they need to take note at this point. If there be any disputation regarding terms which conflict between the two documents, the Great Charter legally invalidates and makes null and void all and any specious validity heretofore claimed for this mutinous Bill of Rights statute. That was taken from Democracy Defined, the
Wow.
manifesto. So that's Ken Dewdney's work. A lot of this stuff is based on his findings, his writings, along with William Keith, along with David Robinson, and along with there's two Australian guys, Carl and Fitz, and they've got a channel on YouTube called Voice of Freedom. They go into the matter in depth.
You guys aren't doing on a Friday
So that's
night.
another good source.
Probably not doing much.
That's where I learned a lot of
Sorry,
stuff.
I'm running a bit late tonight.
Two
And,
good
last
guys.
night, I
Because
did have
obviously,
the opportunity
this
to put on
applies
the show.
to the Commonwealth. It's not just us. So yeah. So provision 3 of the Bill of Rights. Now, if you try to look at the Bill of Rights and you try and find provision 3, try and find it. It's not there. It's been removed. I'm not saying it's been repealed. It's not. It just isn't there. You can't find it. You can't see it. And what it says is, provided that no charter or grant or pardon granted before the 23rd day of October in the year of our Lord, 1689. If you never noticed the way it says the Bill of Rights 1688 or 89, it's something to do with the calendar at that time.
Right.
I think it's meant to be, I think it was the 1688 at the time, but I think now it would be 1689 if we were talking about it to our calendar. I think it's something like that. It just says old style date. It shall not be in any ways impeached or invalidated by this act, but that the same shall be and remain of the same force and effect and law, and no other than as if this act had never been made. So no charter or grant or pardon granted before this shall be in any ways impeached or invalidated by this act.
It's
So
mind blowing, isn't it, when you really get into it?
Yeah.
And it's literally there in black and white.
It is. It's all there. It's just hidden. You just have to dig. And these great people, Ken Dewdney being one of them, William Keith being another, these have put this out there. I would never have read Democracy Defined if I hadn't have watched William Keith give a talk to a political party years ago now. Years ago. I watched it years later. He mentioned Democracy Defined, and I went back to it and I got the book and I shared it with you, didn't I?
Yeah.
I read it and I was like, Gavin, you've got to read this book. Everything that we've been talking about and all that, it could possibly be a lie. Yeah.
It blew my mind, actually. I've got to be honest with you. It threw me for a loop because I was so into the Bill of Rights and all of that good stuff at that point.
Yeah, definitely.
I had this major conflict initially. And I guess it's my own cognitive dissonance, you could call it.
Yes.
I had all these facts pointing to absolute answers. And yet here I was, Bill of Rights, blah, 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 doing all this sort of stuff. And I was like, shit, where do I stand with all of this now? Because ultimately for me, like you, it's like, I accept that the whole thing's tyrannous. We are in this situation. And all I'm really looking for is the answers of how do we push back? How do we do something to stop what they're doing to us?
And there's no, at this moment in time, the only other answer other than doing what people are doing is to stand on constitutional law and basically step away from that. Because I don't know, to be honest. I don't want to say something that is going to make people stop doing what they're doing. I just want to give them not so much a variation, but something different to say that we have got a constitution, that we can stand on it, that it could make a difference. Just to get people involved with it. Because to me, I'm like, okay, how do I feel when I know this system is fraudulent? How do I feel stepping into that system and trying to navigate it when really what I should be doing is holding people to account at a constitutional level here, saying, I don't care about what you're doing with this fraudulent system. I know what you're up to. Do you know what I mean? I want you to step over there and answer questions about this or have a conversation about this. That's how I see it. That's how I feel now, because I feel now that my moral compass, my sense of right and wrong, I should be trying to do what's right. Although it might help me get me out of a financial glitch. In all honesty, is it the right thing? That's all I question. If millions of people did what I'm saying and what everybody, not everybody else, but people who I've learned from are doing, if everybody did that, then maybe we wouldn't have to deal with that. Do you get what I
Yeah,
mean?
and I do. Yeah, I absolutely agree with that.
I know it's difficult because nothing's happening over here at the moment. And I don't know when that's going to start. So I couldn't, in all good faith, be preaching here and saying, oh, Bill of Rights is a load of shit. Don't use it. Step away from the legal system. The fake rule of law is what I call it, because I don't think it's the real rule of law. I think under our constitution, trial by jury is our true rule of law, our true system of equity. It's a tough one for me because I've already made the decision to just go, you know what? I don't want to engage anymore. And I know we've had conversation. I've got this issue with this or that. What can I do? And you're forthcoming all the time, do this and this. And now I'm thinking, do you know what? I don't care anymore about that because this is far more important. And if I'm busy engaging over here, then I'm not engaging here where I should be engaging. That's how I see it now for me. Because it's almost like saying, okay, I know all that's fraudulent. I know it's not a legit system. I know our courts are bullshit, but I'm going to engage. I'm going to give it life. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to step in their arena. I'm going to use their fraudulent tactics against them. This isn't no disrespect to anyone, but that's how I see that situation. Now I see it. And to be honest, Gavin, this is touching on natural law. This is touching on that sense of right and wrong. To me, it's not a decision based on, oh, you know, what can I do to dig myself out of a hole? This is like saying, I'd rather take the hit financially or whatever, or not do these things and try to do something over there. Because that's what this video is about. This video, we've been talking about doing this for years, not for years, but for months. This to me is, now that I know certain information, I've got a duty to talk about it. That's how I feel about this now, because I can't be exposed to this information and then go and sit downstairs in my living room and not say or do anything with it, because it's useless then, isn't it?
Completely
It's
agree
not
with that.
out there, is it? Like everything that you've ever done has been based on natural law because your moral compass is centered. You're trying to help people and giving up your time for nothing in a lot of instances. And that again is that sense of right and wrong. I've got this information that's helped me. What can I do to give back to people? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I really do.
Not so much the black and white of it. It's the sense of right and wrong, the moral sense of what to do with the information and what not to do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's really what this is about, isn't it? It's putting out this information. It's well-researched information. It's factually correct information. And then you guys watching this, do with it what you will. Hopefully some of you are going to be triggered enough that you're going to dig in a little bit more.
See, the thing is with all this, to me, it's factual. It's all there. It's history.
Yeah.
It's not anything like, it doesn't take any sort of special person to get this information. You pick up a book and read and look at certain stuff, then you'll learn. You'll see what's going on. You'll be able to put pieces of the jigsaw together. Like, mate, I was one of them people. I accept when people were like, oh no, Magna Carta, it's a load of shit and it's not for the people, it was for the barons and whatever else, all the false nonsense that come out to discredit it. I was one of them people. I was one of them people that stepped away and I was like, yeah, no, what? That makes sense. That
Me too. I think we all start there, don't we? We all start
within the legal system. What can we do? Huh? Do you know what I mean? That's where I was. We've all took certain paths and come to where we've come. And not everybody's going to think the same. And I appreciate that. All I'm trying to do is just with yourself, with the help of yourself and people who are watching, is just to put the information out there.
Yeah.
And then, as you've said, do what you will with it. You can pursue it or you can disregard it. So this slide was Open Learn University, and they touched on some constitutional aspects of the current system. The UK Constitution is largely unwritten or uncodified. It can be likened to a building with columns, roof and base representing different aspects of the Constitution. So we've got in there, I brought this slide up because obviously it was an educational thing, but it goes on about parliamentary sovereignty. And if you look at the base, the foundation of that visual there, what does it say? So the foundation is constitutional statutes. It's mind blowing, mate, isn't it?
I don't even have the words. I mean, it's pretty obvious, isn't it?
So I'm not going to repeat that. This that's on this website has been copied and pasted from the parliamentary website. It's exactly the same word for word. Constitutional statutes. So they're saying constitutional statutes. And I presume they're referring to the Bill of Rights, the Act of Settlements, the Coronation Oath Act and all that kind of stuff. That's what I presume they're saying, what constitutional statutes consist of. These are seen as the legal sources of the UK's constitution. So there's no mention of the Magna at all. They are acts of the UK Parliament, so they form the constitution.
I think given what we've expressed so far as the facts of history, etc., and then you're reading this and you're showing this, it's like the answer's bloody obvious, isn't it? Why isn't the Magna Carta mentioned? The answer's now bloody obvious why it's not mentioned. And I think that hopefully that compels some people to just dig into this a bit further.
You know, Damien was talking about like jurisdictions and stuff like that. I think that's got a lot to play here because I can't honestly say what rule of law we are under. Because there's been that much involvement. There's been that many treaties. I don't know. We're going back to this rule of law that we're experiencing now, where it's truly come from. As I said, the dismantling of the Constitution, I think that's where we're at now, over flipping 800 years worth of different things that have gone on, different acts of, I call it treason. There's no other thing to say, to be honest. There's no other way to explain it. To me, it is treason, and there's been so much of it. Even when you go back to the Magna Carta, when King John made Pope Innocent III his feudal king and he surrendered England to Rome and all. That's treason as far as I'm concerned. You don't have the authority to do that. You hold that in trust for your successor and for the people. Do you know what I mean? You've got no right because the barons are challenging you on your tyrannical ways, torturing people and all that kind of stuff. Do you know what I mean? You can't just run to the Pope and hope that he annuls the Magna Carta and gives you pardon and allows you to get away with it. No, that's not how it works. But again, that's another argument on Twitter that I get all the time. I've basically spent hours speaking to people who were just adamant that the Pope had every authority to annul the Magna Carta because King John had the right to give England away. Does that make sense to you?
It makes no sense, especially also when we know the Treaty of the Vatican and the Pope and what really goes on there.
You haven't been defeated in war or anything like that. Based on faith and religion, you're giving England away, which isn't yours to give away.
Exactly.
It just doesn't. But these people, and again, I've got to say, they must be trolls or paid shills to just scour Twitter for people who are basically concealing fact, not concealing, speaking the truth, basically. These people are concealing. They're part of the problem as far as I'm concerned, because they are.
I agree.
Truth.
Yeah. Also, because a lot of the time they can't evidence anything to support what they're saying is true. And then you ask a simple question like you just posed there. And a lot of the time the way they come back at that is just, it's ego driven, isn't it? There's no fact. It's also name calling and other things.
All they say is that it happened and it was done. And I'm like, okay, I'm not disputing that it happened. What I'm saying, was it above board? Why should we accept atrocities because they happen?
And that's the point, isn't it? At what point are you saying that bit of treason's okay, but this one's not, so this is the one we're going to challenge? Like, surely for me, anyway, it comes back to where was the first act of treason?
You just say stuff like, oh, they did that and got away with it, and that's what they did. They were powerful. And I'm like, but that's not right. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's your ability to question something.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So it touched on referendums. They're held to gauge support for constitutional change. Governments tend to want to involve the electorate directly in such changes. If it's a big decision, yeah, we'll involve people. Go on, we'll give them a say. That's what that reads to me. It's not we want people to have a say. It's just, oh, go on then, we'll involve you in this one decision. It's just, and again, it's in the form of referendum, where 30 million people can be let down, basically. So royal prerogative powers, again, exercised by the monarch, they've diminished over time. Parliaments, the power of Parliament grew. Governments representing the majority political party in Parliament began to exercise these powers. It's just another form of tyranny, to be honest. That's all it is. It just keeps coming back to that. You'll love this one, Gavin. Study.com. Democracy is a form of government where the people have the power to vote and elect the rulers.
Yeah. See what?
Well, elect the rulers. Wow. Or representatives of the nation. Yeah, let's vote for our rulers. Members of a society vote for leaders to represent decisions and actions of the political process. This is the best one. The majority of votes wins, and those in the minority ought to accept the decision of the majority in good grace, even if they don't think. So you 30 million people, you didn't want mandatory vaccinations, but get your sleeve up.
Hey,
You know what I mean? It's ludicrous, isn't it? How has that ever been democracy?
I don't know, man.
It's mind blowing. Again, touching on briefly voting. So voting in representatives is not democracy. It's not the people ruling. You vote for somebody to represent you. You know what I mean? Referendum, adult suffrage, voting in elections is what is being passed off as democracy. Another example of how the general population are being wrongly directed by a play on words like meaning. Example would be to stick a word in front of democracy. Do you know what I mean? To give it a different meaning. Representative democracy. It's not democracy. Just leave democracy out of it. It's just a play on words. Voting gives people the illusion of having a say. Sad, really, how we've been manipulated
Yeah.
for long periods. So Wikipedia, best source of information. In law, common law, also known as judicial precedent, judge-made law or case law. So common law is known as judge-made law. It's not common law under a trial by jury justice system. People make the law. It's people-made law. It's not any one person or any one representative. But this is, again, what we're being taught and what's being exercised under the current rule of law. As you said, all the cases that you've been through where you've had lots of evidence, judges have overruled certain stuff or dismissed certain stuff. It's wrong, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
So, yeah, definitely.
So it's the body of law created by judges, similar quasi-judicial tribunals by virtue of being stated in written opinions. So we rely on a judge's written opinion now for any sort of justice. A precedent known as, I'm pretty sure that's stare decisis. And I think it means let it ride or let the decision ride or something to do with decision making. Is a history of judicial decisions which form the basis of evaluation for future cases. Common law, also known as case law, relies on detailed records of similar situations and statutes because there is no official legal code that can apply to a case at hand. So again, we can see where statutes are probably heavily relied on to form the basis of a court ruling or a decision. If there's no like common law or no other cases, no other case law. The judge presiding over a case determines which precedents apply to that particular case. So you're in the hands of the judge, basically. And can we honestly say that all judges are fair and moral and not paid and corrupt?
Of course we can. We're not saying anything of them, are we?
Yeah, that's what Wikipedia, Investopedia have to say about common law. Another pleasant guy, Lenin, spouting the same stuff. A lie told often enough becomes the truth. So people just start to accept a lot of this because it's just repeated. Doesn't matter whether it's true. So this is another Greek philosopher. Dictatorship naturally arises out of democracy and the most aggravated form of tyranny and slavery out of the most extreme liberty. So this guy wasn't a fan of democracy. And you can see from that quote, he kind of steering people away from democracy. Oh, that's bad. It'll end up being a dictatorship. Yeah, it's not just now. This has been going on right throughout history. So if we look at the word democracy and break it down and look at the etymology and all that, the meaning of it, we can see what it means. Hellenic Greek, demokratia, democracy, demos, the people, kratos, sovereignty, power, kratian, to rule. So basically, democracy is the people rule. That's it in a nutshell. So anything where the people don't rule is not democracy. So democracy, the form of government in which the sovereign supreme power is vested in the common people, the emancipation and ethos of society produced by the power of juries, ordinary citizens in trial by jury, to vet, judge, decide, make, and enforce the law, the people rule. So through even then, even in ancient Greece, there were systems in place where trial by jury existed, and the people, they ruled on the lawfulness of what was being presented, not just the defendants. And even they were involved in lawmaking, like the decisions, just common people. Can you imagine walking into Parliament, Terry from down the street, saying, "I've got something to say here. Can I take a seat here in the House of Lords and speak what I want to say? I've got some good thoughts on certain laws." You wouldn't even get past the gate, would you?
You'd be love that.
So in order to understand the meaning of the word, it is essential to know first that democracy embodies the people's responsible control over government. That's key, really. What we've got now is the illusion, not the illusion, but the thought. What we've been programmed to believe, basically, is that we're bottom of the ship pile, that we're below government. That's what we've been conditioned to believe, but it's the opposite. We have control over our government if we're operating under the correct system, under the correct rule of law, the correct system of equity. Law. So the people's responsible control over government and law through trial by jury. The people control the government, not the other way around. So under the trial by jury, government can't do anything. They can write law if they want, but once it hits a court of law with a true trial by jury justice system, then it's unjust or it's wrong in any way, then it'll get found out. You're the final arbiter of law. Although governments have got a position and the head of state have got a position, they hold office and need sovereignty to the people through trial by jury. They're just responsibilities. They've been put there by us. Do you know what I mean? But when we look at the royal family and they're far superior than us peasants, and governments are well-educated people who should be making them decisions because they're well-educated and we're like stupid. Do you know, that's what it is, isn't it, really? That's what we've got. So the real rule of law, man's interpretation of natural law, which is common law. The rule of law rules refers to the constitutional framework. It's an agreement between the people and the holders of office. So we put the holders of office in their place. They're there to make sure that these rules are adhered to, that this framework, nobody steps outside that framework. We operate under a system of equity and the rules necessary for equity to prevail. So what's equity in that sense of the word? Equity is moral justice and the spirit of fairness. So again, natural law, a sense of right and wrong. To be legal, governments, written laws, policies, whatever you want to call them, statutes are required to reflect this. So any holder of office, their written laws, they have to adhere to the Constitution, to the rule of law, to common law, to trial by jury. It's as simple as that. And anything that steps outside of that is unconstitutional. It can never be passed or enforced. But that's what we've got now. We're being punished by pieces of paper. Do you know what I mean? So I've put in brackets there, statutes do not have power to punish, the people do through trial by jury. So that's what should be happening. People should be judging the law, should be judging the defendant, judging everything. Nobody else should have a position there, certainly not statutes, a piece of paper. And again, that's key. All are equal under the law. That includes people who hold office. Shouldn't really be any immunities for them, privileges. So legem terri, which is the law of the land. That's the Latin. Common law, it's man-made law. It's not government-made law or judge-made law, as a lot of people think, what we've been taught to believe. Don't forget, a lot of this stuff's been educated out of the system. If you go, like I said before, the 50s and 60s, probably the whole face of how law was taught in the universities and all that probably changed. Again, was that purposely done? Common law is the term given to the code of laws and customs mentioned in above item legend Terry, the law of the land, the trial by jury justice system inscribed as articles of 1215 Great Charter, Constitution, Magna Carta. Common law is made, decided from judicium, the judgments, verdicts and sentences of jurors and the trial by jury, the judgments of pars, parium, social equals or peers. Trial by jury is the sole legal justice system for all causes, lawsuits of legem terri, the secular, pan-European and pan-Occidental, timeless, universally applicable common law, also known as the law of the land. So just to touch on that, the Magna Carta and all that wasn't the birth of common law. These codes of law can go right back to, as you'll see, so like Alfred the Great, 800, the 800s. And there was loads of people, loads of groups of people, different countries, also applied like trial by jury justice system, common law and all that, way before Magna Carta. And again, you wouldn't think it. You think, oh yeah, the Magna Carta, that was the birth of everything. It wasn't. So what's a constitution? A constitution is a code of laws and customs, legem terri, the law of the land. Common law, the trial by jury justice system. It's established by the people of a nation. So it's as distinct from governments or bureau. It picks the holes in the Bill of Rights again. The people establish your constitution, not governments or bureaucrats. For the guidance and the legal and lawful control of its governments by which to preclude tyranny and lawlessness. A constitution may be amended only at the behest and by the active participation of the great mass of the people, not by the government. So that kind of sums up what a constitution is and who establishes it, who doesn't.
And what we haven't got.
It's quite clear.
Yeah.
It's to basically rein in your government or to rein in your head of state, your constitution. Do you know what I mean? None of them have got any say in that. The constitution is permanent. You just have to abide by it. You hold office. You can't step outside that framework. No, they don't have any control. That's what's happened. That's exactly what's happened. So the constitution is unswerving. Neither monarch nor parliament has legitimate authority to remove sovereignty from the people exercised through trial by jury. Yet this is precisely what has occurred. That again is from democracy. The constitution's clearly been buried. There's all kinds of treason that's gone on. Loads of unconstitutional stuff pre-Magna Carta and even after. Not even a long time after, pretty much like a couple of months or years after it started to happen. So we're clear on constitution. So governments, what part do they play in all this? Again, this is from Democracy Defined. A government is comprised of the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. The legal means of controlling and limiting the power of government, a constitution. So that's what it's there for. It's a means of controlling and limiting the power of government. A constitution is categorically not merely a document showing the hierarchical administration and departmental organisation of government, though it may also contain this. So government is the executive, the legislature and the judiciary, but they sit below the constitution. They should sit below the constitution because they have to stay within that framework. They can't step outside that. You know, that rule of law is that rule. So purpose of government to stay within the framework of the constitution, the rule of law at all times, to administrate the will of the people, creator choosing the set of standards they wish to live by, to protect the property of the people, to distribute resources equitably for all people to share and enjoy the abundance of life on this planet. Everything required for a peaceful, dignified coexistence. When have you experienced that? Have you ever experienced that? That's the purpose of government.
Never.
That could be their main aim. But in my lifetime, I've never experienced that.
No.
All our resources are controlled by corporations.
Correct.
So it's just crooked, isn't it? Everywhere you look, it is. So statute law, as distinct from supreme constitutional customary common law, statute law is written law set down by a governing legislature. The Constitution is established by the people. Statute can be written, amended, and repealed legitimately by Parliament. So it can never be a constitution, statute law, because there's other people pulling the strings, a minority, Parliament, people who are responsible for statute law. So logically, when you look at it from a logic point of view, you can see. So when you look at the Magna Carta and the rewrites and the repeals and all that, when you read that, you're like, you can't do that. You can't do that. You don't have authority to do that yet. That's what you've tried to do. Again, it's an act of treason.
This is why you look at the American, what's going over there right now, and the Americans, that they're all about the Constitution.
Yeah.
That one document, which has come from our Magna Carta, hasn't it?
Of course. Yeah. Some of it's been taken from the Bill of Rights as well.
Yeah.
So I believe.
But they have their one codified constitution. You like over here, a lot of people don't even know what the word even means.
I think if you randomly pulled 100 people from your area and asked them, they'd probably say no.
Yeah.
Probably say we haven't got one because of the horse shit that's been.
Which is shocking, isn't it?
Really?
That's why we're so stuck, I think, with what to do.
So statutes never form constitution because when any new statute is in conflict with earlier parliamentary legislation, the later or current law simply overrules the earlier one. So statutes made by Parliament are susceptible to being overruled by subsequent parliamentary legislation. Government doesn't have the authority or jurisdiction to write a constitution. Statute is fundamentally limited, even though it has the power to punish under the current rule of law, where the executive and the judiciary are enforcing statute through the following of orders. So that's what we spoke about earlier. Under common law, the people punish, trial by jury. So it's all pointing to the same thing. Everything that we look at, even when we look at the rule of law we're under now, it's wrong. It's not that the framework is wrong. The way it's being run is wrong.
Yeah.
So the mechanisms within this
it's an inversion, isn't it? It's an inversion of what it's meant to be.
Wrong. And again, I don't know where that's come from, how that's happened. To do through treasonous acts, basically, and the written statutes and various treaties that have been signed over the years and everything else to go with it. So statute is fundamentally limited, even though it has the power to punish under the current rule of law, been through all that. Really, under common law, people punish trial by jury, we know that. The fact that statutes are made and can be unmade legitimately by Parliament applies to every parliamentary act without exception, including those on treason, misprision, union, supremacy, petition of right, Bill of Rights, etc. Whether or not the statute contains wording from common law, all statute can be amended or repealed. They are not permanent. So a constitution is permanent. You can't just come in willy-nilly twice a week and just say, oh, I'm changing that. It's nonsense. So this slide is just basically in one previous, is to state you've got statute law and Parliament legitimately, they're well within their rights to amend, change or repeal any of that wording. Constitutional law, your constitution is permanent and is established by the people. So governments have got no say in that at all. They can't just come in and start like messing with it. Do you know what I mean? So does that make sense?
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. And that's it. When you take a step back and you look at this thing all the way through the ages, literally since the 1215 Magna Carta, it's obvious what they've done. It's obvious why we're here. There has been an intentional process that they've gone through the years to create exactly the situation that we're now in.
Yeah, 100%. But with the statute law and stuff like that, under this current system, that's basically supreme, isn't it?
Yeah.
When we go to court, or if anybody, like the council, great at that, because all they do is copy and paste from which one is it? I forgot. It's gone. But they just copy and paste something from that statute to say
Local Government Finance Act.
Local Government Finance Act of 1982.
That's all they've got. That's all they stand behind.
They just quote whatever provision from that would suggest that you are legitimately obliged to pay council tax. And that's what they do because they're just following orders.
Yeah.
That's it. You're never, ever very rarely are you ever going to get someone with a moral compass that'll say, well, hang on a minute, this guy might have a point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm going to zero his bill this year or
Yeah.
whatever. Do you know what I mean? Well, you very rarely, I'm just doing my job. I've had some of the best replies from councils. They're going on about the Bill of Rights, the Magna Carta or whatever else is just archaic law.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you stupid? Are you just completely ignorant to what you should be, how you should be approaching stuff? You should know this stuff. Sitting in that position, other than the local finance act, you should know this kind of stuff. You should know some sort of statutes, especially if it's deemed constitutional and there to protect people. And you think it's archaic and it doesn't stand for anything.
You know what gets me as well is the fact that we're actually doing this for their bloody rights as well. Do you know what I mean? That they are of we the people, and yet they stand where they stand, in ignorance or not, whatever.
I just don't think there's any excuse, mate.
I agree.
I think some of it's ignorance, but I think some of it is arrogance as well.
A lot of arrogance.
Because
and power trips.
How more arrogant in this legal system can you be when you don't follow your own processes?
Yeah.
How arrogant is that?
Exactly.
I can do that. You know what I mean? Don't do what I do. Do what I say. You know what I mean? It's so one-sided. It's just unbelievable. So moving on, head of state. The king, queen is the head of state, first among equals, and they are equals. You know, they just hold office. That's it. The senior public servants, and they have limitations placed upon them. They are there to protect people's liberties and uphold the rule of law, common law, constitution. So the head of state should be, I don't like using that term really. The king or queen should be upholding that rule of law. Her main duty, royal assent, she should be refusing if it interferes with constitutional law. And that's just not happened, does it? At all. As I say, it's a formality, isn't it? No. So distinction must be drawn between words sovereign and sovereignty. So the monarch may be denoted sovereign, like symbol, the queen sovereign or whatever, but sovereignty is ceded to the people. She cedes sovereignty to the people through trial by jury. So we become, although she's got her own duties, her own powers, royal assent and all that, predominantly she just cedes sovereignty to the people to judge on law through trial by jury. That the mechanisms of a common law constitutional system, a constitutional monarchy, that's what she's there to do. So preeminence, supreme and independent power expressed through the making and enforcing of laws. Just, I don't know, it's just not happening, is it? Although it's clearly there, and when we look at definitions and we look at how this system should be working, it's gone wrong somewhere. It's been infiltrated, hasn't it? I would
massively. But I guess to flip this to a positive, it gives you hope to know that the infrastructure to bring back what we want, the Constitution and trial by jury, is all still there.
Yeah.
So what has been done can be undone, but what it needs is we, the people, to stand in numbers to do it.
That's why, like, with what's going on and everybody's waiting for some sort of collapse. I think I was listening to I keep saying William Key because he's so knowledgeable about this stuff, but he said something that really resonated with me. And he was like, they want to collapse because they don't want to be held to account in this system. A sovereign nation, a trial by jury system, it would be easier for a collapse to happen and just rebuild however they want. But if nobody knows how the system should work or should be functioning, they'll rebuild however they want. And that's not, he was saying, and quite rightly so, that's not acceptable. You don't get to just get out of it and have a collapse and blame it on something else and rebuild however you want, the Great Reset or whatever. You should be held accountable under this current system we should be operating under. No, the Magna Carta shouldn't disappear with the collapse. This system of equity and rule of law that we should be operating under shouldn't disappear because of a collapse.
I think the reality of that really is, I think certainly with what you've displayed here, the facts are the facts, and we are in a completely subverted, tyrannous system, right? That's where we are today. And if we look at what's going on in America and what's actually coming out into the public domain now, is that the proof is that the system itself is so far gone, it cannot be used to find justice and remedy. And I think that if we look at our situation, just to put this out there, that it stands to reason military jurisdiction would have to reign supreme in a situation like that, as it always does in any war. And it would be that jurisdiction of law that would maybe provide the remedies. So there'd have to be a full stop moment where, that's where the remedy's coming from. And then we basically fix the system.
Yeah.
I don't know how that plays out, but it just seems to me that I put a lot of time in, like you, to this. I put a lot of time into the military law side of things. Yeah. And I can certainly say that whether it's true or not, but we certainly have the conditions under the updated law of war manual that a global martial law, soft martial law, should be in place right now. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But if that was true, then you could certainly then bring that into a military alliance, maybe removing these bad actors at a point in the near future. Who knows?
I don't know much about that. We have to have that conversation. You'll have to skill me on that kind of stuff, because I haven't looked at military law or anything like that. But just touching on that, I would suggest that under Article 61, that we should not be engaging anyway. That we should be waiting for redress now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's been invoked.
And there is an argument with what you're saying, just why even entertain the legal system as it is right now? Because with Damien, I'm a big proponent of we've got to sue these people, we've got to do that. But I can understand the argument of just do nothing, because if enough of us did nothing, then it's pulling the rug from under their power base. They have no power by default.
The big thing is, under common law, all these people will be going to trial anyway.
Yeah.
If we reinstated constitutional law, we reinstated our constitution and we were under proper system, all these psychopaths, your Matt Hancocks, Boris Johnsons, everybody involved in government will be in the dock.
Yeah.
We're looking at a Nuremberg too.
Yeah. With
that kind of stuff. And as I said, treason at common law and high treason at common law are punishable by either life imprisonment or death. Do you know what I mean? I know it sounds severe. How many people are these people affected? Your Matt Hancock and people like that during COVID. How many lives has that man destroyed?
Yeah. Not even destroyed.
Taken?
Yeah.
100%. But what I'm saying is, under common law, these kind of crimes, you wouldn't have to sue someone for financial gain. These people would rot in jail.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you find the legal system overwhelming and wish you had the knowledge and skill sets to control judges, persuade attorneys, and win your case? Well, look no further. Sovereign Empowerment is proud to announce our partnership with Dr. Frederick Graves so that we can bring you the jurisdictionary law course, How to Win in Court, your ultimate resource for mastering the courtroom. Unlock powerful case-winning strategies as you learn to control judges like never before. This comprehensive course eliminates guesswork and empowers you to navigate the legal landscape with absolute confidence. With step-by-step instructions, flowcharts, and outlines, you'll have all the tools you need to persuade and control judges in any case or court. Learn from a seasoned attorney with over 40 years of winning experience who has distilled his expertise into this comprehensive program. Access everything you need in one single package, including sample forms, video seminars, audio clips, and in-depth case-winning classes. Learn at your own pace, anytime, anywhere. Our 24/7 online access allows you to tailor your learning experience to fit your schedule. Access the course on your smartphone, tablet, or computer and become a legal master whenever and wherever you want. Benefit from a suite of powerful tools, including a free online legal research tool, a legal dictionary with common sense definitions, and an exclusive Q&A forum to connect with fellow students and obtain expert guidance. Good people have suffered too long at the hands of power because they just didn't know how to fight back. Now, in a matter of just a few few days, you can acquire the tools and knowledge that takes law students years to achieve. Can't afford a lawyer? No problem. With the Jurisdictionary Law course, you'll gain the skills to win your case without expensive legal representation. Alternatively, equip your own legal consult with the tools and tactics to fight effectively on your behalf. Level the playing field and secure your victory. No matter what court, civil or criminal, conquer any courtroom challenge with ease. This step-by-step guidance ensures a quick and straightforward learning experience, empowering you to navigate the legal system with bulletproof confidence. As a testament to your newfound legal expertise, you'll have the opportunity to complete a final exam and receive an honorary law degree upon successful completion of the course. Showcase your achievement and establish yourself as a force to be reckoned with in the legal arena. Dr. Graves believes everyone deserves access to legal knowledge. That's why we offer the Jurisdictionary Law course at an unbeatable price. For less than the cost of a 1-hour legal consultation, you'll gain unlimited access to this complete program for up to 2 full years. Take control of your legal battles without breaking the bank. How to Win in Court has become the most trusted law course worldwide since 1997. Don't miss out on this exclusive opportunity to gain the upper hand in the courtroom. Enroll in the official Jurisdictionary Law course today and unleash your legal power. Click the link in the description below to become legally empowered today.